Well, everyone seems to have an opinion on gun control, and here Audria Taylor and Rory Pendergrast are with me to debate both sides of the issue. Thanks for being here. Let's begin with reducing guns. Does it show that it will reduce crime, banning guns?
You know, I think the biggest thing that we have here is a difficulty in finding out what are the true numbers. Because when you look at there's a study out by the Johns Hopkins University that what it says is that if you have strict regulations, tight oversight, and then strict issuing of permits, that it defers or detracts guns from getting into criminals' hands. However, there's going to be numbers the other way. I think the main issue, what it is that since the early 90s, the NRA has been able to go after the spot at which legislation starts, and that is doing the research into it. They basically have prohibited through pushing their representatives and senators. They've cut off the CDC and then the National Institute of Health.
I don't think we can blame the NRA for the gun violence that's happening in our country. That's not fair. If we look back, the highest mass killing rate in U.S. history was actually in 1929. And we see that from the recent Gallup poll after the Newtown, Connecticut shooting, 74% oppose banning guns. 74% of Americans oppose banning guns. In Fontana, California, the police chief, Rodney Jones, just came out and announced that their unified school district will be purchasing 14 AR-15s, and they are doing this to protect the children at their schools. He wants to send a message. This is from the police chief, and he says, "Not here, not now. We are prepared for you. If you seek harm on our children, we will neutralize that threat."
But banning guns, aren't just the bad guys going to get the guns?
Well, not necessarily, and I think here's the biggest point with by cutting off the funding for being able to research what are the questions, we're not able to answer the questions. So quite honestly, if we do ban the guns, if we do have some sort of licensing requirements on it, what is the overall impact of it? And quite honestly, we both can pick our numbers, and we're going to come up with the numbers we like, but until we can get these institutions to be able to get the actual numbers, we can't really do anything about it. Now, I think that what we're doing here is a good step forward. And what we need to happen, in particular, after this tragic event, as you look at everything, that this is a turning point. And I don't think anyone can argue on that one.
So what's the compromise? What is the compromise going to be between Republicans and Democrats?
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. But one thing that we do really need to look at is putting policies and politics aside. We need to look at really what went wrong in the Newtown, Connecticut shooting. What happened? Well, first of all, that gun was obtained illegally. So simply banning guns wouldn't have fixed that problem. So we need to be really careful the policies that we're passing to make sure that we're not taking away an essential liberty of Americans and essential freedom. And so we should be looking at some of the mental health problems that our nation has, and I think that's where we should really look into what's happening there. I believe our schools should be protected by armed guns, just like they do in Israel, just like they're doing in Utah, just like they're doing in California.
This is America, though. Doesn't that seem a little out there?
You know, what is interesting about it is that it sends a clear message to any shooter that if you're going to come here, you will not achieve the fame of killing our children. You will not achieve any of those things that drive people to do these absurd, horrific acts of violence.
It's too bad that we can't think of something that, besides making our schools fortresses, to protect our population.
Exactly, for protecting kids. And I think there's three big things that we need to focus on. Is that one is the accessibility, which we're never going to agree upon. But I mean, to be quite honest with you, the Second Amendment is there. I support the Second Amendment. But to what extent? That's where we have our differences. The second one is that looking at the culture of violence in the United States and what we can do about that. And third truly is the health aspect of it, the mental health aspect of it. And when you look at there's basically 4 points that Obama has put forward, is that one is closing the gun show loophole, so that making sure that we have a background check on everyone who's getting.
And that's essentially enforcing the laws that are already on the books, which we both agree with. Yeah. We should be making sure that these background checks are happening. Even the
NRA itself will say that they can agree to that.
Absolutely.
In certain aspects of it. The second one is the ban on the assault-style weapons, which that's where, everyone's going to tell you that it most likely isn't going to pass. We're not going to make much headway there, but that should not stop us from trying. Because what it comes down to is that if we can save 1, 2, 3,
but you know
5
what?
lives.
If
That's
we
what
look
need
into
to
it
do.
that way, then we should ban cars. We have to be careful with saving just 1 or 2 lives. We have more people that die from car accidents every year. So we really need to remember that criminals will still commit these crimes, whether it's from getting guns on the black market or different ways. So we need to make sure that individual Americans can keep their essential right to liberty.
Well, this is the beginning of a very long debate.
Yes, it is.
I thank you both for being here and
Thanks
taking
for
your
having
time out
us.
on this Sunday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that is going to do it for this edition of San Diego People. Be sure and tune in tonight for the KUSI News at 6.